Hello and welcome to another episode of All Things Money. We have some very special guests today. 3 of the founding members of the Citizen Foundation. We have Mustaq Chapra, Riaz and Saleem, who's also the current chairman of TCF. Hello, sir. Hello, all of you. Welcome to our show.
Assalamualaikum.
So, it's been 30 years of TCF, 30 years today. What do you feel that you have accomplished over the last 3 decades?
Well, accomplished, we can't say, but what we've done in the last 30 years, can we go back to the beginning?
Please, I would love to learn the journey of TCF.
Okay, because a lot of people ask this question. So what happened in your life that you started working for education? So first of all, the answer is nothing happened, except that we were fed up with the talk going around in the elite circles about how bad things were and how this country will never get anywhere, and all negative stuff, all in drawing rooms and without any solution. Because fortunately, there were 6 of us. One thing was common. There was nothing else common with us. One thing which was common was that we were fed up with this kind of talk. And we decided that we did not want to be part of the problem. And if we continue to partake in this kind of a discussion, then we become part of the problem without offering a solution. So we said, either be a part of solution or go to the mountains, live off the land, get some cows and goats, and forget about everything else. मगर ये पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं करनी है कि ये क्यों चीज़ें ख़राब हो रही हैं और क्या बेड़ा गर्क हो जाएगा, etc. So that is actually what got us together.
The motivation of it.
So the next was, what do we do? So a lot of people said, because like Mustaq Sahab and a couple of others, they had worked in health. They said, and health seems to be the biggest problem. So we said, okay, we'll also work in health. But we said, whatever we'll work in, we'll actually get to the bottom of the problem. We'll drill down and see what is the cause of that particular problem, and then we'll solve it. So we drilled down, and we found that 40% of the health problems are hygiene related. So we said, okay, we'll work on hygiene. And then we started drilling down, and we found that actually the root lies in education. So that's how we chose education as what we wanted to do. Then the next step was, what are we going to do? Build schools? So we decided that whatever we'll do, it will be national. It will not be restricted to one city or one province. Secondly, we decided that it will be a big project. It will not be a minor project. Because why big? Because we wanted to influence others and make a difference. We wanted to bite a big chunk out of the problem. So we decided that we'll do 1,000 schools all across the country. So it was very audacious. And actually, when we got out of the room where we decided, the first person we said that we're going to build 1,000 schools, he said, see, I like you guys, I love you guys, but I don't want to laugh at your face. Can I go out and laugh at this pipe dream? But anyway.
How many schools are there now?
More than 2,000.
So did you ever go back to that person and say...
No, I think they have been part of the journey. So
They're donors. They're friends.
They've been part of. They said we'll give you money, but this was the target. Then we all decided that you have a lot of organizations who are doing really good work, but every organization, every cause which people are working with in good faith and with a lot of sincerity, but they're assigned to names. So we said, we will be nameless because the cause is bigger. Because you see somebody's hospital, somebody's school, so all charities are related to names. Perhaps we are the only ones where people don't know who the founders are.
That is true. I remember the first time I interviewed you, you at that time as well said that I do not like to be in front of the camera or talk to journalists, but we do need to get the word out there.
Okay, so that is because the cause is bigger than us, and it will only remain bigger if we are smaller than the cause. And Alhamdulillah, in 30 years we have kept to that. The third rule was that it will be professionally managed. So the founders will not manage the organization. And actually, you look across the spectrum, most charities are actually run by founders. Why should a charity not be run by founders? Because governance is a big issue. And governance, when you take other people's money, governance trumps everything else. So, if a founder is running a charity, who is going to do the oversight? So, we had decided 30 years ago that we will only do oversight, and we'll have a best management in Pakistan who will run the organization, and we will actually oversee what they're doing so that our promise to the donors is met. So,
that has allowed TCF to set a very high standard of transparency and accountability.
And yes, it has a very high standard of transparency and accountability, but it also has probably the best management in town. And not only for the social sector, not for profit sector, but if you pick up our management today and place it in a for-profit situation, in an industry, they will do equally well.
I think a lot of companies would love to have a management like that. For-profit companies.
You see, it's like a business startup. I let Ahsan finish, but just add by saying that it was like you start a business. Carry on, Ahsan.
So these were the basic foundational points where we started. And then we decided that actually we will have a gender ratio of 50-50, because whatever the children we put in school will actually mirror the population of the country. Which led to another thing, which led to that how do you remove basically the reasons why people don't send their girls to school. One of them was male teachers. So we decided all our faculty will be female. So these were some of the founding principles, and we can talk. So that is how we set it up. And this is the genesis of and TCF. More questions will come, so we don't spend more time on this and carry on.
I'd like to extend what Ahsan was saying, that did something happen in our life, tragic, dramatic. So by the grace of God, nothing of the sort. But what did happen, I think, was that we had happy childhoods.
Usually it's the other way around. An unhappy childhood leads to dramatic changes.
No, it's the other way around. Happy people generally tend to be kind people. I mean, I'm not talking about myself, but generally. And kindness is more important than wisdom. Because if you discover a kindness, then that is the start of wisdom. So I think I've been reflecting, because Ahsan says, and rightly says, that there's not much in common between us. I discovered that there are some things in common between us. For example, we delayed the construction of our personal residences 10 or 15 years beyond when one builds a house for oneself. Okay? And all of us did the same without conferring on the issue. We lived within a kilometer of each other, and so on and so forth. We all three have 4 children, and so on. Some things.
That's a very interesting tidbit.
But it's common, right? So something subconsciously must have happened. And on the lighter side of life, let me tell you that all three of us share the same ophthalmologist. and why I say that? Because when I walked, I was the last one getting to the ophthalmologist. And when I got to the clinic, I saw a very nice sign there, which said, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and found that life was service.
Oh,
I acted, and behold, service was joy.
how beautiful.
Right? So the common is that subconsciously all working towards the same direction and possibly feeling the same things, because the feelings that matter.
So what Ateed has said is so profound that we sort of, I'm the most senior by the way, but we started off, proper charity, we've done small time, but the Citizen Foundation gave us a really jump into something, mega. We all had business. We are business from the business industrial backgrounds. We were all, alhamdulillah, successful in our businesses. And that was the time when we felt that now is the payback time, that Allah has blessed us, children, family, and good businesses, running profitable business. So let's do something where we can, we owe it to the country basically, to go give back to the country, to the children, and changing lives. This was the spirit which was the fueling was. How can we change 200,000-300,000 families, or lives of 200,000-300,000 families? So, and that is the joy factor which Ateed is trying to bring us. And I am telling you, these 30 years have been immense. The pleasure I cannot even explain to you.
Absolutely.
That the gratification, any amount of making money or business or going to fancy places, traveling abroad or whatever. But this joy of looking at a child going through matric, going through college, and standing I met a girl in Toledo, Ohio recently. I was in the States. And she did her residency in neurology in the University of Toledo. And her supervisor, or the doctor, who's a specialist in stroke, he says, I have yet to come across a student who's more intelligent than this girl. And she comes from a Kachi Abadi of Karachi. And she comes from a family where all the 5 children have become, in the last 20-25 years, something in the worldly sense. So this is an immeasurable.
And she was from TCF.
And she was
Wow.
from
How?
She in the Ibrahim Goat, the first school opened, and these children went into primary, secondary. Then the elder brother went into IBA, the first IBA graduate.
Wow.
Now he's doing his PhD at Boston.
Wow.
In Boston University, a young boy, Nadeem Hussain, from Ibrahim Goat, Karachi, is doing a PhD in Boston University. But he's graduated, sorry, my apologies. He just graduated in June.
So you keep in touch with the alumni as well?
Everybody,
Yes,
alhamdulillah.
as
We've
best
got
as
a
we can.
special cell in our office.
At best.
The alumni pathways. We've got the all database track. Of course, in the initial phases, we couldn't or we didn't. But let's say 90% or 85% of our children are all tracked. Where are they? What school? What college? What business? If they are doing self-employed, they're there. How much money they are earning? They constantly. And the beauty is that these are the children who are going to take over. From the succession is the children.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Extending what Mustaq is saying, very well said. These are the kids who will take Pakistan forward. I am absolutely convinced. Let me tell you a little story. When this kid got into the IBA, he encouraged other kids to form a club there called the Alumni Development Program, which meant that they would train TCF kids on how to gain admission in top-tier universities.
Wow.
Many years pass, the club carries on. I was invited to meet the club members, and there are kids from grammar school, city school, Beacon House, etc. sitting there. And I said, how does your club operate? They said, we sit every year, we form a club, and we choose a leader. So I said, who's your leader? And they pointed to a girl who was wrapped up in a hijab. And I said, who is she? And they said, she is a TCF kid. Hang on. I said, why did you choose her? I mean, you're from grammar school or wherever. She said, and I'll use our language then translate, सर ये भैंस कॉलोनी से 3 बसें बदल के आती है IBA and there is माथे पे कोई शिकन इसके नहीं आती.
Wow.
And she is so confident. We can't go buy a pencil unless a driver and car is there. So we've got to invest in these kids, got to give them hope, got to they believe, arm them with education. And kids here in this part of the world are smart and intelligent, and they will lead you from wherever you want to go. It's only a question of time. Educate, educate, educate.
Actually, you were asking what happened. You know, we gave you certain things, but actually the most of all was that none of us was beyond 40s. So we were all in our 40s when we started, which also meant that the audacity of the target, etc., was because we had a good risk-taking capacity. I'm glad it happened at that time. Otherwise, our risk-taking capacity would have gone down.
I think that's very good advice for me as well. I need to be more of a risk, less risk averse.
So I think this was the beginning. So shoot.
Thing is, I mean, very inspirational stories coming out of TCF. You know, you pick up these kids and all that. But the challenge is so big, as Ammar was pointing out earlier. 26 million children out of school. Where do you begin to tackle that problem?
Actually, you know, if you don't know the right question to ask, you'll not get the right answer.
What's the right question then?
I'll tell you. This is common. All of us use this 26 million children out of school. And I think some people have started taking pleasure out of actually, quoting this number. See, the problem doesn't lie in 26 million children out of school. It lies somewhere else. But before I give you an answer to this, I want to tell you that, you know, because we have a 30-year journey, so we've been talking to people for 30 years, going to donors. Initial years, people would ask this question, why is education failing in Pakistan? And our answer was that it's a demand-side failure and a supply-side failure. Okay? These were the two elements. Both were negative. And today, it is no longer a demand-side failure. This is a very profound change which has happened over the last 30 years in the entire country. And I think this is a cause for celebration. That there's a major shift. There is no demand-side failure in education. The supply side remains. Now coming back to 26.
But if I were to argue against the demand side failure, and I asked this to Riaz sir as well when he was on the podcast, you see these kids on signals dressed in golden, standing as statues.
So demand side failure is no longer there in our experience. And you go to the most remotest of towns in the interior of Sindh or Balochistan, they want to go to school. But either there are no schools there, or they don't have the means to go to school. So demand is that if they want to do something, but they cannot do it for certain reasons. Ya school nahi hai, ya paise nahi hai. So that is why you see all the steps. But about 26 million children out of school. For every 10 schools, primary schools, you have less than 3 secondary schools. So any of the children who do their primary will be out of school by the time they're out of class 5. So 2/3 of the children who go into school will be out of school. So this is one. Then you look at, out of these 26 million children, there are certain children who are over 15 years old. They are not able to go to school. They're school going age, but how will they go to school? So if we fix the gap between primary and secondary, you will actually retain half of those children who will become out of school. So instead of doing that, we're trying to fix those who are out of schools. We want to fix alternate routes for them. They're not there.
Alternate routes as in?
कि okay, out of school हो गए हैं, अब क्या करें उनके लिए? वो तो out of school है ना. What do you do with them? So they say, okay, we'll give them some skills, but actually give them schools.
Give them schools. So let's say if you scale up the TCF model, you know, it's a problem clearly identified. Secondary schools are much less than primary schools, and there is no graduation pipeline per se. You kahan pe jayenge? How does the TCF model? TCF cannot do everything.
No.
It's practically impossible. How can the state or the provinces at large adapt the TCF model in rolling out secondary schools and basically reducing this gap?
Atit Saab has a perfect answer for this.
No, you see, the thing is that the number of secondary schools built by the government hasn't built new schools recently. It's a few, but not as many as required. The number of secondary schools that are required are into tens of thousands. If that is done, if that is focused upon, you will find that this gap reduces. The other important thing is that whilst this large number of kids are out of school, those who are in school, their own learning outcomes are very poor. So if you concentrate on the outcomes, these kids will in turn get these 26 million children into school somehow or the other. So we have one of the largest populations of school going children already who are in school. You need to improve their outcomes, and over the course of the next couple of decades, you'll find that this 26 million will also be in school, or their children will be in school. The other thing is that you have a quick fast track model that we have for those who are 10 or 12, how to get them into secondary school in 18 months. So we're doing a pilot of various models that will get 10, 12, 13-year-olds into secondary school within 18 months. These are two possible
accelerated learning program. That is
two possible.
One of the, like Atit Bhai is
one of the solutions, and it's a serious issue. It has to be dealt with very seriously, and it has to be given the same priority at all levels that you give to security, for example. Okay.
Actually, there's a third option, which actually you said, what can government do, which TCF cannot do. Now, TCF has 2,000 schools, units, one CEO, who's actually under which
2,000 schools are operating.
Pick up 10 people of that sort with that kind of skill levels, with good oversight under the government, give them 1,000 schools each, and they will run. It is demonstrated.
You got to give them the autonomy, and you got to give them the tools, audit, checks, etc. But let them run the model.
Because, I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's not a resource problem. That's what I personally may be wrong here. As of right now, because the cost of educating a child at TCF, if you look at the numbers, is actually less than what the government spends per student.
Yes.
So it's not a resource problem when you can get much higher, better learning outcomes and better efficiency through TCF.
the reason
Ammar, you're right. Actually, not only this, we are at the lowest level of spending on education in the world.
Exactly.
We spend less than 2%. Now, it's not even fashionable to do that anywhere else in the world. a minimum spend is like 4 to 6%. But the question is, bijli nahi aati hai, people protest. Pani nahi aata hai, people protest. ये livelihood का मसला है future generation के. So why don't we actually protest about it?
See, why model is there? TCF has proven.
Exactly, the model is there.
The successful we've improvised the curriculum. We have improvised that, like Ahsan said, training programs. It's really absolutely
The model is
the
there,
whole,
and
whole thing is that there is no political will. एक तो ये है ना कि जैसा अतीत ने कहा कि खुद की जो स्कूल चल रही 26 मिलियन को एक तरफ
वो भी नहीं सही चल
वो
रहा
भी नहीं सही चल रहा.
So I'll give
10
you-
में से 3 बच्चे 2 बच्चों को जो बेचारे अपनी इंटेलिजेंस की वजह से सक्सेस हो रहे हैं, बाकी गवर्नमेंट का कोई इसमें दखल नहीं.
So 60% of schools in Sindh are without electricity. Just been reported. This
Yes,
been economic
yes,
survey.
yes.
Actual number may be much higher.
Much higher.
Are without electricity. So we may deem them to be dysfunctional, for lack of a better word. Obviously, you're not going to get those learning outcomes. Coming to learning outcomes, I visited all across Pakistan. I go to Thar quite a bit. TCF is doing a wonderful job there. How do you train teachers in different areas of Pakistan and ensure their quality remains consistent across the board?
See, first you have to decide. First of all, you know the number is about 50 million children who are in school are in the so-called learning poverty.
Learning
Yeah.
power, yeah.
Okay? So 26 million plus 50 million. 50 million is more than 26 million.
Yeah.
So twice as much are in learning
Poverty.
So now how do you improve the outcomes? First of all, let's say if you have a bull in a china shop, what do you expect? What do you expect?
The China will be destroyed.
Yeah. So if you have bad teachers, untrained teachers in a classroom, this is what they will do
Yeah.
with the children. They'll play havoc. So training is important. Not only training is important, then there is the entire world knows that learning is best in the mother tongue.
Yeah.
What is our model training, model education is not in our mother tongue. So, schools in Sindh, you said, have that learning poverty. Half of that learning poverty is because of the parents, because they want a board outside the school which says English medium, grammar, GRAMMER school. If that board is there, then they think that they're done.
Yeah.
They cannot understand one word of English if you teach them in English. If you teach them in Sindhi, they will learn something.
Yeah.
But do we have the guts to do it? I think we should, and I think everybody should promote actually doing that.
So at TCF, what's the medium of education? Is it English or Urdu?
No, our medium is learning.
Learning.
So whatever is best. Generally Urdu. In Sindh, we've rolled out a Sindhi program.
Okay.
So we have books, lesson plans, everything.
So it has been demonstrated
It has
that
been
even in
demonstrated.
regional languages,
Yeah.
in other
Multilingual.
languages,
Yeah.
multilingual learning can be
The
done.
examples that Mustaq gave you, the girl in Toledo or Nadeem Hussain in Boston or wherever, and there are, alhamdulillah, tens of thousands such kids, have all grown up in TCF, which is generally an Urdu medium school, where they graduate into English, like our parents and their parents did. If you look at all the big stalwarts that Pakistan has produced internationally, whether it is Saleem Siddiqui or Faiz Ahmad Faiz or Zia Mohyuddin or Dr. Ishrat Hussain, the recent retired governor of State Bank, they all came out of Urdu medium schools,
Yeah, public schools.
right? And Faiz Saab was editor of an English newspaper. How is that possible?
I'll give
It's
you my
because-
personal example. I had a colleague, Kazim Alam, and his English was 10 times better than mine. Like, I'm the editor of my
Right.
desk, right? If I read a sentence, I can tell whether it's right or wrong. He could explain it to me, whether it's adjective, verb, whatever problem. And he had learned English in Urdu.
In Urdu.
So his English was so much stronger than mine, even though I had come from an
You
English
see,
medium.
the
rests.
mother
Yes.
language opens doors and windows in your mind of appreciation, of intelligence, of not working hard to learn a language and not thinking. So the creativity process reduces, the thinking process reduces. Teach them in their own language, develop them, and then graduate them to the international language,
होता
which
है
could be
अच्छा,
whatever.
अमाद मैं आपकी बात पे वापस I am going to go back on the training part. ठीक है ना? जो TCF has always had the desire of innovation. TCF has never held back anything. You know, we have always been working as a meritorious organization, whether it's employment of teachers or admission of students. आज तक कभी किसी की सिफारिश पे ना अमल होता है और ना हम करते हैं, ठीक? मिनिस्टर हो कि काउंसलर हो या एरिया का गुंडा हो, हमारा जो प्रोग्राम है उसी, और हम उसमें थोड़ा बहुत मसले भी आए, लेकिन अल्लाह का शुक्र है, बाय एंड लार्ज वी हैव बीन. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से दैट द ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम जो आप पूछ रहे थे ना, कि आप हमने क्या किया है, a couple of years ago we started a program by the name of Mustaq. Mustaq is an online program which is specially designed for teacher training, and Mustaq is available online for any teacher, whether it's a government teacher, whether it's a teacher from a private low-cost private school, or any young lady who wants to understand what training means. And there are, you know, separate volumes and separate segments, which the cost of that program is very nominal. If somebody can pay, good enough. If they can't pay, we waive the fees. So what I'm trying to say is, but the system in this country or system in this, is that the government of all the people is not ready. Just quoting 26 million children out of school and not,
Doing
we
something
have
about
time and again offered our services. We don't want any like, we don't need any accolades. हमारा नाम नहीं, हमने कहा किताबें, we are publishing books.
किताब ले लो.
Quality. Why do you want to have Punjab text board and Singh text board printing not good books? You've got, proven good books available. नहीं. अब बहुत सी दफा बातें हुई, हमने कहा हम अपना नाम हटा देते हैं, तुम अपना नाम डाल दो या ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम देख लो. Take that training program and put it up for teachers.
Or free.
And free, we are not asking for any cost for these things. So point ये है कि 26 मिलियन के ऊपर रोने की बजाय अगर ये चीजें गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में अगर ये ट्रांसप्लांट हो जाए तो there'll be a
Massive revolution.
there will be a revolution. There'll be a change coming across. ठीक है ना? Which could be positive. Which could, अच्छा, कमिंग बैक टू द 26 मिलियन जो एहसान ने कहा 50% को तो निकाल ही दो 15 साल के बच्चों को स्कूल. अगर 13 मिलियन भी बच्चे हैं तो आपको पता है कितने स्कूल चाहिए? 30,000 40,000 स्कूल चाहिए. किसी की हिम्मत है इस मुल्क में, पैसे हैं, रिसोर्सेज हैं टू बिल्ड 40,000 स्कूल? एंड हाउ लॉन्ग विल इट टेक टू बिल्ड 40,000? हाउ मेनी टीचर्स विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू go into those 40,000? So this, we are very going about it in the wrong way. Pick up these things and
And the result, actually, a very interesting concept that's being discussed at various forums, including ours, is that if you educate a child, the GDP goes up dramatically. Okay? Somebody said to me last night that the GDP, if you educate X number of children, GDP goes up by $300 billion. So the economy becomes much stronger with an educated population, much stronger, much bigger. So, but the good thing is that whilst for us it was important 30 years ago, now, thankfully, the governments are, because it's a provincial subject, you've got 4 or 5 governments, they're talking about it, they're trying, right? They may not be going about it the right way, but they're trying. We have always said to them that our knowledge, expertise, management systems, management manuals are all available for us to train, tell them how to set it up. As Ahsan said, you have 10 chief executives, each running 2,000 schools. You will have, or 1,000 schools, you have 20,000 school unit program, right, run by 10 chief executives. They can sit around a table. They can then discuss amongst themselves who's doing bad, who's doing good. Their leader can say, okay, I discovered this book, maybe an Edward de Bono translation in Venezuela. This has opened up kids. It's opened up their minds. I've translated it. Go test it out. Conversation of this kind can take place. If you are serious about developing the nation, bringing kids up. But yet I think we remain happy and optimistic. We'll get there.
I think actually probably powers that be are serious about improving things, but they don't know the right questions to ask.
Possibly.
I think education is not a priority.
But
For lack of a better word, as you said, allocating X billion rupees to education does not solve the problem.
No.
It doesn't. You can throw money at the problem,
Yes.
but this is a problem you cannot solve by throwing money at
But
it.
देखिए fundamentals तो ठीक करने पड़ेंगे ना. Because let's say if you look at how do we spend money, TCF. There are so many compelling things.
You'd just like to add here, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Must appreciate TCF's transparency, because TCF's annual report is one thing that I go through every year.
bless you.
And
Thank
just
you.
constantly go through it. What is the cost of setting up a school?
Yes.
What is the cost of teaching a child? How many schools exist? So that just tells you that a lot is possible with such resources, and at a national level, when you've got more scale, you can actually teach
can be
at
done.
much more
The
efficiently.
model exists. It can be done. It's transparent. There's good accountancy. You have top-notch firm auditing. If you have these 10 chief executives, they should be audited by the best companies.
So
in
that's
the
what I'm saying.
country.
Really appreciate the transparency. Oversight.
But actually, what I was saying is that let's say कि we must have a good shot at it. Because there is a problem in place. Now, you are spending as a country 2% or slightly less than 2% of GDP on education. Can this resource go up to 3%, 4%? If it can, we can postpone a mega project for a year or two and put this money in there. And like what Atisa was saying, that the return is much more, in terms of return to Pakistan, is much more in spending money on education, because people think it's expensive. But illiteracy is more expensive. Now, if you actually spend this money on education, as he said, the contribution to GDP goes up substantially, because it is base level lele, even if they just do metric and nothing else, compared to an uneducated person, their income generation will be 1.5 times. It could be more, but let's say 1.5 times. And if you then actually basically extrapolate that, the return is less than 2 years payback.
What is the cost of
The
it?
cost.
Is there any other project,
2 साल में
either
return-
industrial,
And it creates jobs as well. That's what I'm going to say. It creates more jobs than we can even imagine at this point.
So, is there any other compelling reason why this investment should not be made in education for a country? This is not an economic. See, the economic dividend is tremendous if you do that. So, I think there needs to be a dialogue, and I think we should actually catalyze that dialogue. Anybody who's agreeing with this thing should catalyze a dialogue and instead of protests, we have to basically ingrain the need, the dire need for actually changing this.
जैसे आपने कहा ना अमर कि गवर्नमेंट इसको उस किस्म की इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं देती. This is a volcano. It's the youth bulge, whatever you call it. The uneducated youth is very dangerous. and we are sitting on a volcano, which it can be converted. It's not going to be an overnight solution, but it can be converted into a positive force for Pakistan. अब मसला ये है कि the policy makers, the people who are in the power should realize, earthquake आता है, flood आता है तो सारी कौम एक तरफ हो जाती, हाँ, calamity आ गई, ये तो कैलेमिटी कंटिन्यूसली चल रही है, इस पे कोई सोचने को तैयार नहीं, रास्ते पे आने की, जैसा एहसान ने कहा, सड़क पे आओ ना यार, तुम्हारा बच्चा, क्योंकि हम लोग कंप्लेसेंट है, मेरे बच्चे तालीम हासिल कर रहे हैं ग्रामर स्कूल में, तो आई एम कंप्लेसेंट कि मासी तो चलो मेरे नौकरी कर रही है, अच्छा यार, मुझे मुसीबत में पढ़ा लिखा के क्या करूँगा।
नहीं, उसमें भी आई थिंक द इशू इज वी थ्रो मनी एट द प्रॉब्लम।
Yes, yes.
मतलब just give you some numbers. Public spending on education is roughly 26,000 per child. Private spending on education, if you look at the household data, extrapolate, that's also around 28,000 per child. So it's not like households are not paying. Households are paying out of their pocket from whatever meager means they have. There are many low-cost schools there, but is the quality there? So it's not like people do not want to educate. So that's what I'm saying. Even when there are private schools available, the quality of education is below par. So how, again, we're trying to fix public, but how do we even try fixing whatever is happening? Because there are many low-cost schools out there. But
see, tell me, if actually we discover that the thela outside your office is selling biryani which is poisoned, will you take action? Will the community take action? This is exactly what is going on in this low-cost private schools. If some of them are actually giving you poison, that's why 50 million children are facing poverty.
Learning poverty.
Learning poverty. So, where is the accountability? Leave alone the government. Where is the accountability for private schools not actually providing education at the standard? So there must be standards set for the public schools, for the private schools, that and they must be very
answerable,
because that is poison. That is destroying our nation.
हमने 4 साल पहले एक प्रोग्राम शुरू किया, TCF in a box. हम भी यही आप जो बात कर रहे हो, क्योंकि जो डेटा है पिछले 10 साल में सबसे ज़्यादा ग्रोथ हुई है लो कॉस्ट प्राइवेट एजुकेशन. So we said that, look here, what we are learning outcomes, our teacher training, our books, our lesson plans. We called it TCF in a box. Everything is available, and we got a cell in the office to go and peddle this to the low cost private school. उनको मार के भगा दिया. मार के इसलिए भगा दिया कि उनके उधर दिस इज अ थ्रेट. बोलते एक टीचर हम देते हैं 2-3 हज़ार रुपये उसको तनख्वाह देते हैं, तुम अपना काम से काम रखो, हमको ये बच्चे का क्या क्वालिटी है या यहाँ से क्या निकल के जा रहा है बच्चा, उसके हमको परवाह नहीं, हमको घर में कितने पैसे आ रहे हैं इसकी परवाह. दैट फेल्ड. वी बहुत कोशिशें की. We desperately tried to get our system into. We weren't asking for any.
But the incentives were not allowed. Cash आ रहा है, why should I bother with quality?
एक पुराना रिटायर्ड टीचर, एक पुराना रिटायर्ड प्रिंसिपल या इलाके का कोई है, उसने बोला मेरे ये तो आमदनी का जरिया है, मैं छोटा सा एक कमरे में काम शुरू करूँ, मल्टी लेवल का बच्चों को पढ़ा रहा हूँ. तो ये तो इसीलिए दस्तक शुरू किया कि चलो भाई छोड़ो, इस तरह से ट्रेनिंग शायद हो जाए.
And Dastak is not for our children,
not our teachers. This is outside low-cost private school or government teachers school.
It's online, so you have, it's difficult for a teacher at night or in the evenings to go out and learn. So this is her one avenue where she can log in and take it forward. So there are 146,000 low-cost primary schools or private schools in Pakistan, and as such, no regulation. So, but again, I mean, if there's no regulation of that extent at government schools, although they have some kind of departments, versus I can remember 50 years ago, private schools were, when the government regulator came, private schools would sit up and take it very, very seriously. As you said, it's all a question of priority. and seriousness how important is education. And it should go beyond change in governments. It should go beyond provinces. It has to be a continuous process. And there's nowhere in the world where they come and start changing things when they've set a 30-year, 20-year program. So if you look around, you will find, whether it's neighboring countries or wherever, the seriousness of education, perhaps we are a few notches down. We need to bring that up and continue to monitor, push, improve the quality of education. We'll get there.
And एक तो ये, दूसरा ये है कि what little can we do? Like Mustaq Sahab talked about the Mustaq program. I think that's an effort to actually improve the universe of private education in the country, so that if the surrounding universe gets a little better, that is some.
So coming back to this, earlier we said, the demand problem is not there anymore. So if there is no demand failure, why is there reluctance for adoption of such products? Or is this because those who want education don't know what the quality should be like?
Yes, this is one. And they actually do not make their schools accountable. Because now they have realized कि बच्चे को स्कूल में डालना है, मेरा बच्चा पढ़ेगा, मगर because the parents are themselves uneducated, they cannot see what they are learning.
इंग्लिश ग्रामर स्कूल की उसमें आ जाते चमक में.
So they say कि okay, English school में पढ़ाएंगे.
But I think that we keep discussing low-cost schools, but my kid goes to like a high-end school, and I feel that there is an absolute lack of private transparency across all schools.
Yes.
Both my kids are on a very different pay scale, because each new kid jumps higher. But I don't know what the other same category schools are doing. I don't know what their curriculum is. I do not know what their fees is. It's just parents talking to parents, but there is no central depository of information for us to know other than social media.
Fatima, you're absolutely right. The difference is that your children, because there's certain learning which they're taking from you,
from the home.
So with that momentum, they're going through this. But you're right.
I think generally parents don't know how to educate their kids better, and this is me speaking as a person in the field, that I'm facing that challenge. I cannot imagine what a low-cost housing society person, female mother, is doing. She wants to do the best for the child, and sometimes giving a high fees and listening to the teacher seems the right way forward, because there's a lack of awareness in education.
Quite.
You're right. You're right.
आप देखें कि the so-called high fee, the English medium schools, बच्चे के साथ हशर क्या होता है? I'm sure you're going
useless.
स्कूल पे जाते हैं और 5 ट्यूशंस पे जाना है, एक के बाद एक जितनी फीस स्कूल की होती है, इसे दुगना साला ट्यूशन वाले ले लेते हैं.
For that matter, even when I look at my kids' teachers, I feel that I don't think that they're qualified. Even though they're
look at the amount of money they make.
Crazy amounts.
At this point.
It's just a racket, absolutely.
You must do accountability, but it is not fashionable to do. And you can't be the only one doing it.
You become an outcast.
Yes.
You become a pariah when you do accountability.
There has to be a consortium of parents to fight for the rights.
Now you take this to the low-cost neighborhoods. उनकी क्या से हमारी आपकी नहीं सही, डरते हम, हमें नाम नहीं लेता हूँ, ये सो कॉल्ड स्कूल्स में जाके उनके प्रिंसिपल से बात कि बच्चा साला आउटकास्ट हो जाएगा, उन्हें निकाल देंगे स्कूल.
Yeah, I'm not naming my kids school for that reason.
तो अब वो गरीब, वो माँ जो है,
क्या है कि बच्चे को ले जाओ.
You know that we have a very interesting program known as Agahi. It's an adult literacy program for the mothers and for the elder sisters who've never gone to school. This is such a beautiful program. Only 90 days, 3 months, a woman goes through this program, and it is not necessarily in the TCF school. It could be in a courtyard, it could be in a small room, but there are more than 700
150,000, 700 current, 700 centers.
750 centers, and more than 200,000 teachers have gone, 200,000 mothers and sisters
Graduated.
have graduated from this program. It's very simple. very simple accelerated learning program with a little bit of teaching them Urdu. They can write, at the end of the program, they can write a small note. They can do mathematics, they can go shopping, and when they go to a hospital, they can read, okay, this is a gynae or a child ward or whatever.
You can read the number of the bus.
Bus ka number.
Basic literacy.
But the ultimate is the woman grows in the household. Empowerment, respect. बंदा जो है उसके मियाँ के सामने जरा खड़े होके बात करने की रिस्पेक्ट आ जाती है. तो ये this is what it is.
Actually, the deliverables. Write a note, read the headlines, do a little bit of arithmetic, हिसाब किताब कर लें, write a check, and read if you have to report to the police, FIR में क्या लिखा जाना है. Because actually when you do it blindly, you don't know if you have to make a complaint. So these are the small deliverables.
Very good.
But that changes the
outcome.
But you know, what is not here is that what is not in there. What I'm not talking about is that, you know, end of the day, that woman is also able to see or appreciate her children who are going to school. You know, if the children are going to school and she has a little bit of literacy built in, then she can appreciate their work.
So essentially, we're extending the earlier hygiene model from health to hygiene,
Into
hygiene to education, and then education, you have to identify it's the mother. You need to give basic literacy first before she can educate her children.
So, so this fits in very, very nicely, and you know, generally, if you see that in the community, if you have this Agai program, if you have the children going to school, and then there is also built in, we're trying that we should also have clean water within the school so the children, their health goes better.
So about 85,000
if you have
people
this,
get clean drinking water every day through the school, through the school drinking unit.
So उसका भी मॉडल ये है कि अभी बच्चे को मिलेगा, फिर बच्चे की फैमिली को मिलेगा, फिर कम्युनिटी एट लार्ज को मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा as it grows. So sometimes we think that, you know, हम लोग स्कूल बनाने निकले थे, वो स्कूल itself has become a lighthouse.
It's more of a community.
Yeah.
ना वो सारी चीजें उसमें को cover.
Okay, everything, because, and especially because it is parked in the middle of a community, so light चारों तरफ जा रही है.
आप जैसा बोल रहे थे ना कि 60% स्कूल जो सिंध में है उसके पास बिजली नहीं है. हमने अपने सारे स्कूलों को सोलराइज कर दिया. अब हमारा स्टैंडर्ड सोलर इज अ स्टैंडर्ड प्रोडक्ट. कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ स्कूल के साथ सोलर, तो बिजली हो ना हो स्कूल चलता रहेगा.
देखो स्कूल तो चलना ही दिन में.
So this is, you know, how we,
and the community is extremely supportive, financially as well as, you know, in terms of time. We have a beautiful program called, our mentorship program is called Reber. And you will be happy to learn, this started 20 years ago, that more than 18,000 people have volunteered to work with us for 7 Saturdays at a stretch. The program has 2 cycles, runs twice a year. And they go and sit with class 8 kids and they mentor them. And some kind of partnership. Their job really is to befriend them in such a way that as if a child is walking down a path or a street, and they go onto the rooftop and switch on a light so he can see his pathway, where not to stumble. And it has fantastic results. I mean, kids who've had this mentorship program, the mentees, they've gone on, they still remember their mentors. It has a profound effect these 7 weeks. A very interesting point that emerged from this program is that when they go out to mentor kids, they feel they were going to teach them something. But invariably the comment I get once they've come back is that we learnt more from the kids.
That's true.
Because the kids are smart, the kids are very savvy, they've grown up on streets. and they can talk so intelligently. So it's, this is how you build society, really. We need to build our society, and education is the answer to building society, to building tolerance, and also how to look after minorities. Okay, this is important. How to handle other people, how to handle other communities, and how to be compassionate and friendly with them. But as I said, we need to just plug away at it and we'll get there.
So one thing, I think I'll just take a slight detour here.
Sure.
One of the areas, one of the, I would say, infrastructure that exists for educating are religious schools. And there's a significant number of children that go to religious schools. There are absolutely no quality, no benchmarking. I've personally interviewed, talked to them, even after they're done with their whatever that
Alim
is,
course.
which is not even Alim, even beyond that, which is equivalent to an undergraduate course. They simply lack the basic math and literacy skills. So while developing these 2,000 schools, have you seen a transition wherever your school is there? And there's a transition from going from religious schools to this school. How does that work out?
I'd like to, it's a very interesting question. एक तो ये कि we are based in the Kachi Abadis of all the major cities of Pakistan, right? We're nothing to do with within the city communities were always. अच्छा, हर periphery पे मस्जिद है, हर periphery में मदरसा है. Time and again, we get these requests, from the muhtamim of these madrasas, because हमारी principal खातून, there's a lady, पहले तो उनकी झिझक होती है औरत से बात कैसा करें. पहले अपना वो जूनियर को भेजता है कि जरा देखो जाके माहौल देखो क्या है क्या नहीं है. Anyway, finally he gets the courage to go and meet the principal, and then he comes and says that यार मेरे जो बच्चे हैं मदरसे से अब पढ़ लिख गए, can you admit them? Obviously their age is much over but we try to sort of reconcile on this fact. Yes, if they pass the necessary entrance test, we'll try to. बोले साहब वो तो यहाँ लड़कियाँ भी हैं, तो हमारे तो हिसाब से ये होना चाहिए कि लड़कों का अलग क्लासरूम है. मतलब देखिए हमारी ये सिस्टम है, हम सिस्टम नहीं चेंज कर सकते. ये तरीका है पढ़ाने का. अगर आप फिर थोड़े दिन गुजर जाते हैं, कुछ महीने गुजर जाते हैं, तो we off and on occasionally we have received students from these seminaries. But more importantly, what we have done is that in larger institutions like Darul Uloom, Korangi ka naam aapne suna hoga, they already have schools within their premises. कि वो जो they've realized कि अब कितने मौलवी बनेंगे और कितनी जगह उनको नौकरियां मिलेगी मस्जिदों में. So they have to have a sort of a reasonable chance of getting employed somewhere. तो उन्होंने भी थोड़ा बहुत वर्ल्डली एजुकेशन का सिलसिला वो अपने रिलीजियस एजुकेशन के साथ शुरू किया. तो दे हैड अ डेलीगेशन कम टू अस, so our vice president Riaz and I, we sat down with them and we said, look here, we don't have any problems, we will guide you, we'll coach you, these are the books available, this is the training program available. So we are assisting and helping them. Obviously, these hardcore religious people have got their problems. कि भाई इसमें तस्वीरें हैं आपकी किताबों में, जानवर की आप, अच्छा भाई हम तो ये किताबें हैं, बोले हमको राइट्स दे दे, हम ये तस्वीरें हटा के और फिर बच्चों को देंगे. हमने ठीक आप करो, as long as people are getting educated. So we are trying in our
TCF in a box is a perfect model for
yeah, exactly. And the bulk of the this how many children are there in the madrasa. So it is phenomenal. And that is the हमारी हमको तो ये this is a win-win situation. Yeah, with a little bit of subtraction, चलो यार तस्वीरें हटा के भी अगर हमारी किताबें, because they have agreed that of all the educational institutions they have visited or they have researched, TCF is by far the most proper in terms of curriculum, in terms of किताबें. there is no hate.
And we have teachers guides as well.
Hate preach नहीं है हमारी किताबों में, कहीं भी किसी का कोई जिक्र नहीं कि ये अच्छा है, ये बुरा है, ये
डिफैंग किया हुआ है.
हमने
कंटेंट को डिफैंग किया बहुत, because we have our own books, so the content has been defanged. But more important is, देखें we have to basically be inclusive. And I think it's better that we actually bring those people around to add to their content because they have a huge population. And if their content can actually be sort of improved in terms of the other knowledge which makes them employable, so be it. But we, as an organization, we are inclusive, we are not exclusive. Not in terms of people, not in terms of gender, not in terms of religion, because there's a very famous letter which Hazrat Ali wrote to his governor in Egypt. It's a long letter, but it's a master class in governance. And the gist is, he said to his governor that you're going to meet a lot of people. Some of them will be your brothers in faith. But please remember that the rest are your brothers in humanity. So actually this is how we should treat all people, everybody.
Absolutely.
Who is a human being is our brother in humanity or sister in humanity. And at TCF, we'll embrace them.
All right, a question on governance. So what we have right now, we've got the federation and then you got provincial units. Each province, the big provinces are 80 million, 100 million, 50 million populations, whatever. And they cannot run everything. They cannot run education. What do you think is in your experience, considering TCF runs 2,000 schools and runs it fairly successfully, what do you think is the model that needs to be adapted by provinces in terms of devolution, whether it's at district level, whether that is at a circle level or whatever? How can we do it at scale?
Acha, after the 18th Amendment, this was visibly on the road successful, that provinces, it was devolved that the provinces take over health and education. Now, like you very correctly said, even the provinces in no small population to handle, Let's take, for example, the province of Sindh. So I think they've got 50,000 schools or 50,000 schools. To manage them, to check them whether they're successfully operating is a big task. I know for a fact that the government of Sindh in the health sector has successfully identified partners. Now, what they do is that instead of managing or overseeing the interior Sindh projects in health, they have appointed a public-private partnership agreement with these partners, and they've got a set of rules, KPIs that they have to follow, and they gave them a single-line grant. Now, through that single-line grant, obviously the private sector and NGOs are successfully managing. The mortality rate has come down. The healthcare has improved. So I personally believe that a program like this can be definitely successful in education. I don't know that the government, aside of school adoption programs and all these, but these school adoption program is not the ultimate answer. There has to be a complete autonomy on the outcomes of the government school or the enrollment practices in the government schools and so on and so forth. So my personal belief is that the government now should look into this seriously and allow a public-private partnership in education, because you see, education itself is not a quick fix solution. It takes 10, 11 years to sort of really get the product or the success of the product. So unlike health. So I think that, but this can be worked out in so many words, a sort of a public-private partnership with known NGOs, with people who are successful in this area.
So this makes sense. So essentially, now in terms of accountability, do you think that will lead to better accountability as well?
Definitely. But you see, you have to work out a formula. because obviously there's going to be a very strong resistance. The government teachers first. I'll just give you a small example. About a few years back, there was a hue and cry about the teachers not attending schools and being paid. And then the government, to save face, brought in the biometric system that all teachers will only be paid with the biometric where the attendance is recorded. They went on strike. And they had to pull back the biometrics. So now what happens? So if a private sector or a private NGO comes in, they have to be a set of rules which can make them, otherwise,
So one thing that just like always think about is just social sector, social security programs. BISP is one of the largest in the world.
Right.
I mean, I personally consider it to be fairly wasteful,
Yeah.
but that's a different story. 800 billion rupees of allocation to that. Do you think there is a case here to link that disbursement of that amount to education outcomes? Or at a household
Yes, I
level,
would.
at a district level?
A that.
Not to outcomes, but actually to getting education.
To getting education,
Yeah.
let's say you will only get this disbursement if all children are going to school.
So much is for school fee and will be paid directly to the school rather than being paid to you. So outcomes बहुत बाद में आती हैं, but it can be linked to enrollment.
Enrollment, yes.
It is very, very, see, unlike health, like I was saying, that you give money to a non-profit or a partner and they employ their own people in the districts or in the tehsils on the basic health unit. Nobody can take over the schools of any government. There's so many thousands of schools. Each school has 8-10 teachers. Who's going to... So it's a very tricky sort of a situation if you look at it. Now you're saying if the money is disbursed directly to the school level, that is the whole problem.
The accountability is in there.
Accountability is a problem.
I would, sorry, go ahead. I would like to see a clear demarcation, bifurcation of education from looked at as a social security program, right? Education should be spun off. If there is a social security need, the government should include that in the social security need and should give education a clear demarcation, total priority, total accountability on if teachers are coming and the outcomes they are producing. And if teachers are short, then teachers are short, they should say so. They should go maybe for multi-grade teaching or whatever. They should know very clearly how many teachers are there in a school, what their attendance is, and for helping others, by all means. I mean, I'm one who says go, give them as much money as you want. If somebody doesn't have a job and has no income, they should be supported. It is the state's job. But a very clear demarcation, a clear prioritization of that this is almost sacred. Education is the future of this land.
Yeah.
Total, division कर दें तो ठीक है. अभी it's a very mishmash. किसी का जानने वाला, किसी को coach, किसी को head teacher, किसी को principal. And the government has very high salaries for teachers. This is the best part.
Actually, Ammar, देखें, इसका there are 2-3 aspects to it. First of all, when we talk of accountability, if you have say 100,000, 140,000 schools, which is over a stretch of land which is so wide and broad, you have to demarcate because हर चीज की range होती है. So that has to be built into the architecture. Even if you look at TCF, see we have 2,000 schools. We are in 4 provinces and Azad Kashmir, but we don't run it from the head office. We run the policy from head office, but operations is not from head office. So architecture of the organization is such that we have 5 regions. Each regional manager is actually effectively the CEO of that region. Okay? And then it goes down. A region is divided into areas. For every 25 schools, there is one area. And the area manager is de facto the chief executive of that area. And is accountable for the outcomes and for providing logistics and everything. So it doesn't come to head office. It is tackled out there. And actually on a school level, the principal is the CEO of that school. And she's empowered to actually do certain things on her own. And beyond that, she goes to the area manager. And beyond that, it goes to the regional manager. So I think we have to actually, the administrative architecture has to work like that.
Has to work.
Because you can't have a span of a school in Kashmir reporting to Karachi.
Yeah.
And then you can have regional competitions. Is one district performing better than the others? Is one tehsil performing better than the others?
And then you can incentivize.
Yeah, you can have perhaps a line going through the district. Half the schools running under one chief executive, the other half under another, and then they can compete.
You can compete and you can create incentives.
For outcomes as well as sports, etc.
Today we've got about 16, 17,000 teachers and principals. We're the largest employer of women in the private sector. So now imagine, अगर head office से सब कुछ होता तो फिर तो now evaluate. So every area is managed by their own CEOs. And so
You see, I'll give you a little bit of history.
Interesting.
In 2002, the then chief executive left. So Ahsan organized a conference offsite. We went to the Arabian Sea Country Club. We sat and we actually discussed for 3 days the future organogram of TCF and the future architecture of TCF. And it was a lot of minds from the private sector who had come in. A HR specialist volunteer flew in from England, gave her input, and we came up with a plan, and then we started executing that plan. So you need strategy, you need direction, and you need a revisit. Every few years, you need to revisit your model, as well as you need to revisit your budget and your strategy.
Yeah.
You know, and your forecasts. Like you do in running any organization, small or large. The larger it is, the more challenging. But it's a lot of fun.
Thank you, everyone. I think this has been the best conversation I've had in this room.
Bless you.
Since inception. Lots to learn. I believe we can do another 3 hours and it will still not be enough. The kind of work that the organization has been doing. I will say the organization, not you, because the purpose is bigger than the people.
Yes, always.
You have to stick with that.
And whilst you're on this purpose bigger, you'll be happy to know, and the audience will be happy to know, that we were given an award in the name of an individual by a large organization internationally. And we said, no, it should be given to the organization, not the individual.
I think that is the ethos.
They said, no, we don't do this. And we said, sorry, we won't take the award otherwise. So they did it for us, and it was their first time. And today, they're not doing it for a lot of organizations. So in that sense, you should be happy that TCF has been a trendsetter, even at the international scale.
Yeah. Ammar, before you close, there's one little message. Because we're all going to actually have our flags up and dress up in green. And you know, we deserve to celebrate the Azadi. But there are a lot of people who do not have a choice to make their own informed decisions. Education gives that choice. So what Azadi means by being able to decide and make informed choices is something different. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed to be able to do that. But I think we need to actually root for those who are not able to do that, so that they can be as Azad, not just in spirit, but also in form.
Brilliant.
Thank you. I think this is a perfect time to end the episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It was a wonderful episode, and until next time.